And here we are, live once again, the High Noon Hemp Show every Wednesday at noon Eastern Time on the Temptations Beach Facebook page is where you can find it. I am Joe Clare, live, of course, from Hemp Quarters is Beach. We have kind of a somber show today, but also a celebration of life. So
That's right. That's right.
what is happening in the world of the Temptations family, Beach?
Welcome, everyone. As Joe said, it is somber, but we are here to celebrate on the High Noon Hemp Show, episode 4, season 2. Thom's episode. Thom Peck, a lifelong friend and employee, passed away last week. I thought I was going to get further than this without actually trying to tear up. But Thom left us a week ago, and so today's show is going to be a little different. We are probably going to talk about hemp as little as we will ever talk about hemp on a show, but we will talk about Thom's life and everything that he gave to the stores and to the world and everything else. And so I'm gonna try to read a little bit of this and improv. Some of this is something I wrote on Facebook, kind of letting everybody know last week. Again, Thom and I were friends before I hired him. This was over 15 years ago, at least. He was a doorman, I think, at a bar we were hanging out. He started, he was in a relationship with a girl a friend of. And so we became really good friends. I remember sitting at the bar, I don't know how many nights with him back in the day, talking about anything and everything. He's survived by his mom and his aunt, who he adored, I believe, with a heart that none of us saw, nor did they. Thom was not emotional, but his aunt really helped him out, and he really took care of his mom and really loved his mom with all his heart. I know that. He also had a couple cats that have joined. They have joined the Temptations family, so to speak, so they're going to stay around. And he probably took care of his cats better than he took care of himself, to be honest with you. I think that it's somewhat ironic that I believe, to clarify, he suffered a concussion, severe concussion, a couple weeks ago. And I think he thought he was getting better, and I don't think he did. And, the rumor was he had tripped over one of the cat toys or something, and that's how he fell. But anyway, it's a tragic loss to us. He was very intelligent, as I said, super picky about his car. If you knew one thing about him, you knew that he loved his car. There was one point, long story short, he had his family had money, and I'm sure some people looked at this like it was awfully suspicious. But at one point, he worked for me, and he had an $80,000 Mercedes Benz that was just looking at it, if you were a car person, would make you go, And he loved his Mercedes. He took a brief venture into the Lexus world for a brief moment, and then went right back to Mercedes Benz. Was driving a Mercedes when he passed away, and so I almost feel like he should be buried in a Mercedes. As much as he liked his car, as much as he, that was the one thing that he really took pride in, one way or another. And he had a it is what it is attitude. He most everything in his life, tragic or happiness, whether it was good or bad, was an is what it is kind of attitude. And that is who I will always kind of remember him as, is what it is. As an employee, he didn't like change much. He was down in O'Brienville for the first 7-10 years of being with me, whether part-time, full-time, or whatnot. And then I remember, asking him to move up to the Sharonville location because we needed to do this or whatever. And, he hesitated, but he took it in stride. And eventually, he spent half his time in Sharonville and half his time in O'Brienville. But he liked things to kind of stay the same as an employee. But as a human, he was always looking for new and different knowledge. He would, if he recommended some pop culture thing, or he was really into the MMA stuff. Recently, his podcast is what brought him the most joy. The picture that you're seeing of him with the two guys, and I don't know who they are, but they were, I think, some of his favorite podcast guys that he got to meet, and you can kind of see the happiness in his eyes. He's like almost like half surprised, half happy. And again, the fact that he's not smiling doesn't mean anything, because he didn't smile much, he didn't frown much. Thom kind of had the same face all the time, and so you really didn't know where he was inside. By the looks of his face, but I can tell in this picture that he's really excited to meet these guys, and it brings me joy to see him like this. I will never forget him for the things that he suggested that I listened to, and I'm going to go over some of those things in a second, and I'm going to pass some of those recommendations on to you that will stick with me for my life. And so as an employee, I estimate that he showed up for me over 3,420 days of his life. For that, I am honored. I am honored by that loyalty. I can't, just thinking about how many days that he showed up taking care of my store. I will never forget that. He wholeheartedly supported the dark side. You can see one of his tattoos on his wrist was a Sith tattoo. I was, as I am Jedi Hemp, I'm trying to figure out his Darth name. He deserves a Darth name. And so he will get one eventually, as we remember him and his love for the dark side. I'll go over that a little bit more in a little while. It's kind of tough to read when there's liquid in your eyes. I don't know if anyone else has had this issue ever. But I can tell you, I thought I was more prepared for this. I've had a week of getting this out of my system. But we carry on.
Understandable. Yes.
And I will always remember him as a brother and as part of the Hemptations family. Forever and ever. He will have a memorial up in every store eventually, and so customers can never forget his face as well. All right. Some of the music Thom gave me, as odd as some of this stuff is, some of it is understandable. Dido, I think, was actually the first thing. I remember he was listening to Dido in the stores, however long that was ago. And I was like, who is this? And he's like, oh, it's Dido. And the only thing I knew about Dido at the time was the Eminem song, where he uses, one of Dido's tracks on his song. And so I listened to the album, and it's an unbelievable album. I think it was, I don't know if it was Dido's first album, but it was the one album that was really big. Rehab was a group that probably a lot of you have never heard of. But Southern Discomfort, when he turned me on to the album Southern Discomfort by the two guys, rap guys, it blew me away. This album just is unbelievably good. And, I don't know why it appealed to me so much. So much different kind of style of music different styles of rapping. It's a little harsh. There's some language, some severe language. But I don't know how many times I can tell you that I listened to Southern, and I've seen R.I.P twice since then. I think they're an Atlanta group originally, but they've come up to Louisville and maybe Cincinnati. I don't know. I know I've seen them in Louisville a couple times. Again, just really, really just blew me away. I listened to it, I don't know how many times again. It's just amazing album. Southern Discomfort by Rehab. It's hard. It's got love songs. It's got it all. And it really, if you knew Thom, you know why I think he appreciated this album even way back then, whenever it came out. DMX was another, I hadn't really listened to a whole lot of DMX, and he turned me on to DMX, and I was like, man, this guy's, he's again hardcore. DMX is hardcore.
A little bit.
But his sound and some of the stuff that he spit was, it still probably spits it was some good stuff. And the surprise one, I think, for most, and I don't know if anybody really knows about Hank the Third, which is Hank Williams Jr. Hank Williams Jr. Hank 3, who is now really just like hardcore punk. Thom told me about Hank 3. And he's like, Beach, man, we got to go see him. And so him and I went down to Bogart's to see Hank 3, and there was hardly anybody there. And he came out with a band called Ass Jack, and he did some of his dad's songs. He did some of his grandpa's songs, and a little bit of country. And then about halfway through the set, he said, well, all right, we're going to take a little break. If you came for the country, you probably want to go home. And Ask Jack, this 3-piece band, I believe at the time, and him, they came back out and they did a set of some of the greatest hardcore punk country I have ever experienced in my life. I mean, and again, as Hank 3 matured, he became like, now his music is really, really hardcore punk. But this set of punk country that they did, and I'm still looking for the EP that I bought at the concert. Thom and I went to Hank 3 and Ass Jack, maybe 5 songs or so, 6 songs. I was just blown away at how good it was. I remember seeing Hank 3 after that, and I kind of stopped going to see him live because his shows were just so intensely punk and hardcore, and he'd gone as far as half of what he was saying was hard to understand at this point, because he was he was embracing the toxicology that his father embraced as well, if you know anything about Hank Williams Jr. and when he was young. And so anyway, and then I remember Thom, we went to Stained, the kind of a harder core rock band, before they had made it. And that show was packed at Bogart's, but they weren't big yet. And he was like, you should really go see this band with me. And it was a really good live show. And so that's just some of the music that I continue to listen to and will always listen to, that Thom suggested and had or whatnot. And so, again, I will never forget him for that. A couple movie stuff, TV stuff. He turned me on to the Trailer Park Boys. And I can't tell you, if you've never seen the Trailer Park Boys, how freakingly funny these guys are and how genius this comedy from Canada was way back in the day. We went to a couple live Trailer Park shows here together. But yeah, he bugged me about watching the Trailer Parks until I think it was Netflixing the discs. And I just couldn't wait. To get the next one in to watch it. And so if you've never seen the Trailer Park Boys, I recommend, I think they're on Netflix now. Go back to the first season, start the first season. Know that it's, they love their cannabis. They move, every season is filmed in a different trailer park which is flat out genius. It's just genius. I mean, the characters are genius. Um, it's just great entertainment. I'm gonna have to go back and probably binge watch Trailer Park Boys for Thom soon. And the other movie that I remember him and I watching, and we spent a whole afternoon watching Bubba Hotep. And if you don't know about Bubba Hotep, the premise of the movie is the real Elvis is in an old folks home because he signed his life away to a fake Elvis however many years ago. And it's got this really weird mummy stuff. It is absolutely it's really just kind of a bizarre movie in itself. That's not the greatest part. The greatest part, and this is what I recommend, is you watch Bubba Hotep, but you find the version of Bubba Hotep which has the commentary on it. And this is and I can't believe I never remember Bruce's last name. B actor Bruce, Evil Dead. Bruce, Burn Notice. He was on Burn Notice, the older guy on Burn Notice. Anyway, he plays Elvis. But he does the commentary of the movie as the Elvis character. And I am telling you, it is as funny as you will ever hear a commentary for anything that any actor has ever done a commentary for, because him doing the commentary as Elvis about the movie is just so unbelievable. And I remember Thom and I, we sat down for a good 3 hours one afternoon. He's like, come on, we got to do this. And we did. And I think I have a copy of Bubba Hotep somewhere with the commentary. I'll probably have to go back and watch that again. And so, that's some stuff that Thom, movie wise, TV wise, he kind of gave to me again that it'll take to my grave. And then he had his MMA fighting, and he kind of turned me on to MMA. I wasn't really paying much attention to it. I do have a love for martial arts, I will say. But it was really new at the time. And I shouldn't say really new, but it was pretty new. And he turned me on to Fedor specifically as a fighter, and that guy just blew me away, because you talk about a guy that looks like he just like came off the bar stool and walked into the ring and then somehow moved like you wouldn't believe this guy and his size could move, and before you know it, you were defeated. That was Fedor, who is still kind of fighting. Obviously he's not in his prime anymore, but in his prime, he was one of the greatest things to watch. And also I remember we went down to watch Rich Franklin, who I'm pretty sure semi-local guy fighter, to fight Anderson Silva. And we watched the fight from box seats. I think Thom actually had floor seats because, again, I think he knew Rich. He was in contact with Rich. I'm not sure how all that went down, but we had up above. And I remember watching Anderson Silva fight, and I was like, this guy should be doing ballet. He was the most graceful fighter I've ever seen in my entire life. And again, following, Bruce Lee was, very fast and very fluid. I mean, unbelievably fast and fluid. But Anderson Silva was like, he was meticulous and fluid as a fighter. So graceful that you can't see how he, it's just amazing. He was amazing to watch. And I paid attention to Silva for a long time and watched his fights for a long time because of that. And that was all Thom. And I know that's what his podcast was. He probably knew as much about MMA as any one of those guys that did podcasts. Again, he was super smart. And if he wanted to know something about something, Thom would let you know about it. And so that's a little bit of Thom and what he gave me personally. I will go ahead and announce, that we are going to have a service celebration of life for him. Anybody local, that's going to be at the Hodap Funeral Home on Friday, December 21st, between 12:30 and 2, and then we're probably going to do a little service. That's the Hodap on Vine Street. We will take a moment of silence for 20 seconds as we remember Thom Peck, friend and employee. All right. We will never forget you, Thom. You will forever be in my heart, as well as I know a lot of other people's hearts, if not for the 5 minutes that they may have encountered you in the stores. On the product spotlight, again, this is the least amount of hemp products that we will ever probably see on the hemp spotlight. I think we only have maybe 2 out of the 5 this week. The first one, we're going to do Grassroots California again. This one in particular, because this picture that we're looking at here is the Bulls hat in the background. That's a Cincinnati Bengal player who, anytime we got a new shipment of hats in, Thom would call him or text him. He'd be like, "Hey man, we got new hats in," and he would come down and no matter what, 9 times out of 10, find a hat he liked. And Thom, he's out in Vegas at a fight. And Thom was, of course, watching the fight on TV when this little picture, and I'm not sure who the guy in front is, who they're actually talking about, I guess. But the Bengals player that's behind him with the big smile on his face with the hemp hat on, that he purchased at Hemptations because of Thom.
Wow.
Giving Thom full credit, man. Because, again, he was in contact with, that was another thing. A lot of athletes for multiple teams shop at Hemptations for various reasons, and Thom kind of had a connection to them. If he knew, then he kind of communicated with them. But you wouldn't know that. He didn't run around talking about his relationships with these famous people that were coming to the stores. Same as me. I've talked to famous people in the stores, and there have been a lot of famous people that have come through the doors of the stores. And I'm not here to brag and drop names. But Thom had, semi relationships with these people and communicated with them and let them know when the products came in that they were interested in. And again, that was something that he didn't do it so that he could go talk about it. He just did it because he did it. And then here's a picture of the O'Brienville location. I'm putting this up there because, again, Thom spent over half his career, probably 2/3 of his employment at Hemptations in this location. I think the people that have the thousands and thousands of people that drive down Madison Road will miss seeing him standing out front smoking his cigarettes, smoking a cigarette, because he was out there. And that was it. I think people will notice. People will notice that he's not out there, whether, they ever know why or why not. Because, again, he spent over 2/3 of his employment in O'Brienville, an amazing amount of time. I can't imagine the hours, so I haven't done that far math yet. And the next picture, again, is a Hemptations lighter. Thom was not, a hemp guy. He was kind of a minimalist. Most of the clothes that he wore shorts almost every day, no matter the weather. But one of the products he did use out of the stores was the lighters. Like I mentioned, he did smoke cigarettes. I am not condoning this behavior or endorsing this behavior in any way. Don't smoke cigarettes. But he did, and that was his life. It's not what killed him. So blah, blah, blah. But he did use a Hemptations lighter a lot because of that. And so, a good old Hemptations lighter, that was probably one of the only real products, besides maybe a grinder or the next product that I'm going to show, which is the Chillums. Again, this is a part of Hemptations that's not normally a part of the High Noon Hemp Show. But, again, if Thom had any products from the store, it might have been a couple Chillums out of the glass case. And so, personally, those were the products that he may have used that came out of the store. And, ain't no big thing by me, that's for sure. That is what it is, as Thom would say. Love him. And the last product is a personal product of mine. I think I showed my Datsusra. I never get their name right. Bags. I don't know. It was on the first season of the show, my personal products. But this is specifically the Joe Rogan bag. I think there's a new version of this on Joe Rogan's website, and probably Datsura's website as well. But for those of you that may not know, Joe Rogan is in the MMA scene, has been for a long time. And so I think, remembering Thom's love for the MMA and this correlation to this product. And I carry this bag around usually when I travel, so I can put my camera and other stuff and whatnot, in it. It's a fanny pack slash, I usually just carry it over my shoulder. But, I think Joe Rogan and The Rock are really, really trying hard to bring back the fanny pack. I don't know that it's working, but, we can only hope. And hemp fanny packs are still out there. We used to sell quite a bit of them back like late 90s. Hemp fanny packs were actually really popular. I have a couple somewhere hanging on the wall here from the days of classic fanny packs. For those of you too young to remember what a fanny pack is, you'd probably make fun of us if you knew. When you knew.
That wouldn't be nice.
Wouldn't be nice.
Of course, with that,
so Thom
brings us to the most awesome part. I'm sure it was Thom's favorite part of the show. It's really everyone's favorite part of the show. And in celebration of Thom today, what are you wearing, Beach?
In celebration of Thom today, I am wearing all black. And it is ironic that last week's show, if you go back, I was wearing all black on the day that Thom passed away. We didn't know at the time. It was later that night, I believe. But either way, it's kind of weird when I look back on it. But I'm specifically wearing black. I don't know if anybody has noticed, but I don't have my hat on. And the reason I don't have my hat on is because I am wearing my hair as Thom did most of the time. I started to kind of joke in my head how pissed off I was because Thom and I were growing gray together. And I know my beard has been gray for a while, but my hair has been taking its time as it becomes gray. But Thom's hair was kind of slowly, and he had black hair where I have brown hair, but his hair was slowly growing gray. But he almost always had it pulled back, I don't know what to call it, half ponytail, because some hair down, some hair in a ponytail, kind of, again, just keeping this top part out of your eyes. But and so that's on a rare moment do you catch me without a hat. But today is one of those rare moments, and it's for Thom. My hair is for Thom today. There is a hat in the picture, and the reason that this grassroots hat is in the picture is because this has a Death Star on it. And as I mentioned earlier, Thom was of the dark side. I think this was probably one of his he might have even showed me that this had existed before I ended up ordering them or finding one for my own head. And so they have Grassroots California has a line called the Head Eye Council line, and it's all Star Wars related kind of stuff.
Nice.
The T-shirt that I have on is a Hemp Company T-shirt with good old Yoda, my side, the Jedi side. We printed that here. We don't sell these. This is my personal shirt. So there's no trademark infringement, just so everybody knows. The Patagonia pants. I really like these pants. It's interesting. They have an open pocket, and then as you can see, they have a button pocket. And so, I think like a traveler's pant wise, this is a really good idea because you put your money or whatever in that button pocket, and you can still have some, whatever in the front pocket. So I really am starting to like these Patagonia pants that I have on. I've got the Hemptopia boxer briefs, as well as the Kind Hemp. And, the picture of me, this is the picture of the shoes and the socks and my both pant legs pulled up is, again, an homage to Thom, because he wore shorts every day. And so that, if he was going to wear hemp pants, they probably would have looked like that. I love the, last week, I think I said that these Kind Hemp socks had a water droplet on them. This week they've got tears. And so it just kind of worked out that way. And those Adidas were close to the Adidas that Thom wore every day. He educated me on the difference of the stripe width on a pair of Adidas, what different Adidas were called. These particular hemp Adidas are called the super modified version. And this was one of the first versions of hemp Adidas that they did. But I'm pretty sure that Thom wore shell toes almost every day. I can't picture him in, even today I picture him in a pair of shell toes. And I remember him in the black and white ones, and then he had the white ones for a while and whatnot. And so, that whole look right there is straight up homage to Thom when it comes to who he was and what he wore. And he's going to get buried in shorts because he deserves to be buried in shorts because he loved to wear his shorts. And so what are you wearing today, Beach? I'm wearing what Thom would have wore if he was dressed from head to toe in hemp. Most of his stuff was in fact black, and again, he loved his Adidas, he loved his shell toes, no doubt about it. Never forgotten.
Indeed.
So there you go for Thom.
Absolutely.
We just got a couple things I want to mention in the news, I think, for today, so we can finish up with remembering Thom. January 4th, I will be down in Richmond, Kentucky. It's drinking liberally. I did get a location on that. If you go to Facebook, there is an event made. You should be able to go to the Hemptations Beach Facebook page, which you are on now. If you're in the Richmond area and you want to do that on January 4th, I'm going to do my hemp thing. It should be fun. For those of you that don't know, Richmond is what I would consider my hometown. I don't go back there very often. But, I hear whisperings of Beach is coming back to talk about hemp in Richmond.
That's right. It's all over Facebook.
It's all over Facebook.
And now with the fame that you've got from this show, they're just going to be. That's
right. So you're going to be standing at the door at this bar that probably only holds 20 people. No. But and the other big exciting news is the Farm Bill is going to old 45's desk. I'm kind of surprised, honestly. I think he's going on vacation, but I haven't heard that he signed it, and they were expecting him to sign it before he left for his holidays. And so any day now, we're hoping he's probably holding off because he's not getting his freaking wall.
Yeah,
But anyway, it's on
he's
his
got to get to
desk
the
to be
golf course.
signed.
He's very busy.
And so, yeah, right. And so we'll see what happens there. But that's good news. Again, that's taking industrial hemp off the controlled substance list, opens up the doorway for states to get much easier to grow industrial hemp. Farmers make it much easier to grow industrial hemp. So we're looking forward to 45 signing that. Hopefully any day now. So we'll see. And for our Ask Beach Anything, our closing segment, this week the question is what does the internet say about Thom? When I posted stuff last week, I got a really nice response from people from the pages. And so, we're going to throw this picture up here of some of the things that some of the customers said about Thom. Of course, I can't see that, so I'm going to have to go.
The resolution doesn't translate well through the.
That's all right. I got copies. We got Kay, who is probably one of our longtime listeners, longtime viewers. So sorry to hear this. He always treated me with respect. I think and she also posted the crying GIF there. Like I said, I thought I'd gotten most of it out, and I think hopefully I'm almost done after earlier this show. Although again, the service will probably bring me to some tears. Let's see. So saddened by the news of Thom. He was a good guy and a friend to many people I know. Rest up, Thom. Sending hugs to all. That was Shannon. Bruce says, sorry to hear, Beach. He was always cool when I dealt with him at the shop. I think that was most people's attitude. If you had an issue with him, then you probably really had an issue. So sorry. I was chatting with him a week or so ago. It's just so tragic. But I really appreciate everybody's kind words out there thinking about him. The guys at East Hill Garage, they sent a message over. It does warm my heart that so many people took their time to remember him. And there's so many out there that I know will be coming in and asking about where he is, and when they find out, they're because there's so many of those people that aren't on Facebook. This is just a little bit of the people that he touched that are on Facebook and have come out and are letting me know how good of a person he was, and how good of an employee he was. And it I think that warmed my heart more than anything. Was seeing this, all the response from everybody out there. Thom will be missed. He will never be forgotten. The Hemptations family, will always miss a little piece of him. No one will ever be able to replace him. I guarantee you that. He was an individual. As I like to say, right, wrong, or indifferent, he was an individual that cannot be replicated. His intelligence is what made us friends. It's probably why I broke my rule of hiring friends, of hiring people inside the inner circle, because, way back in that day, I knew how smart he was. I knew that his, I trusted him with my life for as many days as that he came in and showed up for work, without many issues. He had his issues. He worked for me a long time. Of course his car would break down every once in a while. Of course he'd find himself, missing a day of work. But normally, man, if he knew he had to do something or had to take a day off of work, and then he got it covered. He did what he was supposed to do. He got it covered. Or he showed up, and I think he showed up in pain a lot because, he suffered from gout. And so, no one, you couldn't see that on his face. You might have been able to see it in his walk because he had a little bit of a limp when he would get flare ups or when it was really bad. But he didn't cry about it. He didn't complain about it. He didn't tell anybody about it for the most part. I'm sure some of the employees on occasion might have heard about it. But he did what he did. And again, his friendship will never be forgotten, and his loyalty to the stores will never be forgotten. I like to say, "Smoke in peace." So I'm going to close the show today by saying, "Smoke in peace, Thom. Smoke in peace."
Indeed. See you all next week. Right here on the High Noon Hemp Show.